This year marks the 20th anniversary of the African Peer Review Mechanism, launched in 2003. The APRM was brought into being during the era of former Presidents Thabo Mbeki and Olusegun Obasanjo 20 years ago. Only 6 countries joined the APRM. Now the number has grown to over 40 countries who voluntarily submit themselves to scrutiny by their peers and their citizens. Well, let's look at governance challenges in Africa since the inception of APRM. And for this conversation, I'm joined by Ferdinand, Katendeko, Acting Chief of Operations at the African Peer Review Mechanism. Ferdinand, good evening. Appreciate your time today. Congratulations on those 20 years. Give us a brief overview of how the APRM came into existence and its evolution over the last 2 decades.
Good evening. I very much appreciate for having invited me to this newsroom to talk about the 20th anniversary of the APRM. Indeed, it is a pleasure to have achieved this landmark of 20 years in existence. You know, some organizations get established, but along the way they fail to continue living simply because of so many problems and challenges. But APRM has withered, and up to now it is moving even fast. The APRM was established in 2003, as you all know, and it was established just to and given a mandate to promote and protect governance on the African continent, and indeed it has achieved a lot since it was established in 2003. Currently, we are 43 members. They started when there were 5, but now the number has increased, which is a great achievement. We are left with only 12 countries on the continent to make the whole of Africa part of APRM. But even those members that have not acceded to APRM, they are yet to accede to APRM because of the good thing they see what is happening in other countries as a result of this tool that we are using as Africa, as APRM. The APRM, when it was established in 2003, indeed its main mandate was to promote good governance, and it was given 4 thematic areas to look at. 1, political governance and democracy. 2, economic governance and management. 3, corporate governance. 4, socioeconomic development. Now, at the end of the, at having seen how activities are being handled in Africa by APRM, the AU saw it very important to give it another mandate of even monitoring Agenda 2063 and SDGs 2030. You can imagine monitoring and tracking after seeing that APRM is achieving, APRM is delivering on its mandate. Then they said, let them give them another task. And of recent, when we had this COVID recently, and they saw how APRM was faring, they said, now we can even give you another 5th thematic area, which is called state resilience, shocks, and disaster. So we are now also reviewing and on countries on that thematic area, which is the 5th, which was recently given after COVID, how we had they have seen how we have handled those areas.
Now, Ferdinand, allow me to come in just so we can have a bit of a conversation. You've obviously talked about some of the highlights. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you would have faced in the last 20 years. And the reason I ask is because governance speaks to issues of corruption. And many of Africa's countries are amongst the most corrupt in the world. I mean, South Africa is battling with corruption, for instance. So is Nigeria, and I could name many others who are part of the APRM.
Yeah, of course, corruption is one of the areas that we are handling. Corruption is everywhere. It is not only in Africa, and that's why actually the founders also said corruption should be tackled by APRM, and indeed we are looking at it. We have not shied away from looking and seeing what are the causes of this corruption, what are the remedies for this corruption. But as you know, as you solve one problem, another one comes in, and we are on its heels. We are not really wavering out. We are not saying let's leave it to be our main challenge on the African continent. A challenge will always be there, but we have to make sure that we move towards solving that problem. So we encourage countries that have not had institutions, that have not had any policies to fight such a menace or such a challenge, so that those countries that don't have institutions that fight, so they can establish them. Policies, we go to countries and encourage and say, please look here. There are loopholes here. That's why corruption is still running away from you. So we go and encourage them, please.
So let me throw something at you. Let me throw something at you, Ferdinand. The issue of state capture in South Africa has been making headlines for several months, if not years, and I'm sure you're aware of it, and the extent of it. I mean, it's been massive. We're talking about trillion rand implications of corruption and fraud. In fact, it's called state capture because it was literally many arms of the state that were captured. Have you contributed to any conversations around this in particular?
They have not approached us, but we are. What I know is that the state has taken measures. Of course, we have been encouraging countries whenever they face such a challenge, they should put measures to address such a challenge. For example, I have seen they have established a commission of inquiry into that, which is a very good move, because if you don't establish, if you don't get a policy or an institution or a system or a process to address it, then you would have shied away from addressing the challenge. So that was a very good, remarkable thing by South Africa, for having established an inquiry. What happened? What can we do in the future? And I give a loud applaud to the chairman of the commission and his team for having found out what is all happening in South Africa. They have not shied away. That is the most important thing. They have not said, okay, let's not condemn it. But they have said, let's address it and see how we can solve it, how we can avoid such a thing that is happening in the country. That's what we are trying to look at ourselves. And we encourage countries always come with and don't sleep, don't run away from a problem. It is a problem, it has come, so try and solve it. But if we see that there is nothing happening, then we say, really, Africa is just going back to where it came from, or it is just not active in whatever we are advising them to do. So those are the areas. It's good that you have brought it up.
Excellent. So, Ferdinand, Katendeko, we're going to have to leave the conversation there. Appreciate you making the time to speak to us this evening, Acting Chief of Operations at the Africa Peer Review Mechanism.